Alright then. Let's make a lot of people really angry now. Don't let perfect be the enemy of good. I like Utopia. I played it and Dominion back in the day, although once they actually changed the undead where you couldn't just basically send all your forces, even if you get decimated, basically any units you destroyed, you bolster your army. Yeah, that was kind of OP for a while. But I digress. Here's the thing. We all have basically our ideal situation in our heads, no matter what it is, whether it's for work, whether it's for play, whether it's for a nation, for the entire species, for the entire planet, for the entire universe, the multiverse, whatever it would be. The thing is, yeah, we're all different, but I really think we're more similar than we are different. What the heck do I mean by this? In that most people just want to live a good life and be left alone. How the heck do we get there? So essentially, part of this was inspired by I was on the little Dark Horse Discord because if you are a patron of Brett Weinstein or Heather Hay, the professors there, yeah, if you pay $5, you could go over there and be a twat if you want. But the thing is, it's like, oh, there is a barrier to entry there. Yeah, you got to put your money where your mouth is. I mean, you probably get banned if you were a dick, but that's okay. But we were essentially trying to figure out how to set up, like, oh, how can we best track ideas? We didn't necessarily even have an idea, but it's like, oh, what's the process to get there? Well, what would be the best way to discuss having to get there? I know it seems very repetitive, but this is actually important. Why is it important? Because if you build in a self-correcting mechanism to pretty much any system, you can let it keep on going because it can self-correct. If you go get all out there one way or another, things can get pretty bad. That's not to say you don't necessarily need to take extreme measures depending on the circumstance. Every situation is different here. Now, how the heck do you do that? You can do that a whole heck of a lot of ways. But how do you get it done? Yes, I realize this is one of those rambling videos, but all I know is I watched the Macho Man Randy Savage right before I got on here, and I always liked the Macho Man. Was he necessarily my favorite at any one time? I'm like, there was a lot of stuff going on. I mean, probably, but I also like Razor Ramon. I mean, you had the Hulkster as well. You had Stone Cold. You had Goldberg. You had The Rock. It's like, yeah, there was a lot of talent out there at the same time, but the Macho Man was consistent. I still remember the story about one time. It's like before you had the famous falling out in the New York City incident. It's like folks are going and say like, "Oh, f everybody," and they're in the bathroom. And all of a sudden, the Macho Man rises up from behind one of the stalls. He's like, "What do you mean, F everybody?" And like, not you, Mach. You're one of us. And it's like, you just slowly slips back down. It's like, I can completely imagine that happening because I feel like that's a similar response that I might have. I mean, you want to tend to yourself. You don't want to make a mess. But at the same time, I'm like, oh, did he, was he necessarily the top of anyone get? Well, I mean, he was always Mach basically, from what I know. So it's like, oh, well, was he necessarily Mr. Perfect? No, Mr. Perfect was another dude. But he was the Macho Man. I think that's why he's my favorite, just because he always said he'd be with us, and just that mimetic man. He got accused of being a lizard person a long time ago. He just said he'd go with it. So, as a fellow scaly, I think I got to give him some props there. But that's all I'm saying. It's like whatever you're trying to do, don't don't just stall out. Don't just sit there and just do nothing because you're like, well, this isn't going to be perfect. Because I've done that for a while. That's one of the reasons my laptop is just coming to me because I watch far too much pornography trying to get it perfect rather than, oh, I can just do this and focus on where I'm trying to go. And you know what? Sometimes you have that magic moment. But that's all I got for now. My apologies for leaving that image in your head, but peace out, be safe, and long live the elbow bump. Boop and boop. It ends.